The idea that T.J. Watt, one of the most dominant defenders in the NFL over the past decade, might not command a first-round pick in a potential trade is almost unthinkable. Yet, that's exactly where the conversation is right now in league circles. According to several sources, including local Pittsburgh insiders and national analysts, the belief among front offices is that Watt's trade value has dipped below that top-tier threshold. In simpler terms, if the Steelers were to trade T.J. Watt today, the expected return would likely be a second-round pick and a mid- to late-round sweetener, not the first-rounder many fans and pundits would assume. This report is sending shockwaves through Steelers Nation, and for good reason. Watt is not just a fan favorite, he's a Defensive Player of the Year, a team captain, and one of the most feared pass rushers in the league. His resume includes 100-plus career sacks, countless game-changing plays, and a level of motor and leadership that very few players bring to the field. He is the modern identity of the Steelers' defense, the player young guys rally around and opposing quarterbacks fear. So how is it possible that his value has dropped this far? The explanation, according to analysts, is threefold: age, contract, and durability. Watt is now 31, which, in NFL terms, particularly for edge defenders who rely heavily on explosiveness, is considered the back end of a player's prime. Add to that a contract that carries cap hits north of $30 million in each of the next 2 seasons, and you have a situation where most teams aren't willing to give up a first-rounder for a player they view as high risk financially. The injury history also factors in. Watt has missed significant time in 2 of the past 3 seasons, including hamstring and groin issues that have limited his snap count and disrupted rhythm. But here's where it gets controversial. Production hasn't fallen off. Even in a down year, Watt still delivered double-digit sacks, high pressure rates, and forced offenses to account for him every single play. He remains a nightmare for tackles, a disruptor in both pass and run situations, and one of the smartest defensive minds on the field. So how is it possible that his value has dropped this far? The explanation, according to analysts, is threefold. The implications for the Steelers are massive. If T.J. Watt's market value is truly limited to second-tier draft compensation, it changes the entire conversation around a possible trade. Moving him for anything less than a first-round pick would be viewed by many fans as a clear step backward, a sign that the front office is prioritizing financial flexibility over on-field impact. It would also likely send a shockwave through the locker room. Watt is not just another veteran. He's a tone setter, a worker, and a player who embodies the Steelers' tradition of defensive excellence. And from a strategic standpoint, the timing couldn't be worse. The Steelers are in a win-now mode after acquiring Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, and DK Metcalf. Trading away the anchor of the defense for what amounts to a second-round gamble would undermine that entire message. You don't go all in on a Super Bowl window and then pull the plug on your best defensive player. It's inconsistent, and it would fracture the credibility of the front office's vision. As the speculation continues to swirl, the Steelers face a tough decision. Do they double down and extend Watt, reaffirming their commitment to leadership and defensive dominance? Or do they cut bait, take the hit on trade value, and roll the dice on future draft picks, hoping someone in the pipeline can fill his shoes? One thing is for sure, the market has spoken, and it's not saying what Pittsburgh fans want to hear. In Chapter 2, we'll explore exactly why edge rushers like Watt are facing declining trade returns across the league, and what this tells us about how NFL teams are valuing elite but expensive veterans in 2025.
To understand why T.J. Watt's trade value is being debated so heavily, we have to take a closer look at how NFL front offices are evaluating edge rushers in today's game. In the past, elite pass rushers were seen as non-negotiable assets, game wreckers that justified top picks and massive contracts. But in the 2025 NFL landscape, the conversation has shifted. Teams are becoming more cautious about paying premium prices for defenders over 30, especially those with large cap hits and an injury history. This isn't just about performance, it's about value and sustainability. In the analytics era, teams are hyper-focused on metrics like pass rush win rate, availability, and overall roster cost efficiency. While TJ Watt's performance still holds up on film and in the box score, decision-makers are asking how much of that production they can replicate with younger, cheaper talent. In their view, why trade a first-round pick for a 31-year-old edge rusher making over $30 million a year when they can draft someone on a rookie deal and develop him into 70 or 80% of Watt's production? That might sound like cold math, but it's the logic driving many front offices today. Another factor impacting Watt's value is his current role within Pittsburgh's defensive scheme. While he's still producing at a high level, his usage rate has dropped slightly as the Steelers have adjusted their system. Defensive coordinator Terrell Austin has shifted to more hybrid packages, with a greater emphasis on zone blitz concepts and interior pressure. That change, while subtle, has meant fewer clean rush opportunities for Watt, and it's something that scouts across the league are watching closely. If a team believes his elite production is tied too closely to a specific scheme, they may hesitate to part with premium draft capital for a player who might not translate exactly the same way elsewhere. All that said, the reaction from fans has been predictably emotional and justified. Across social media, Steelers fans are in disbelief. The idea that a player like Watt could be traded at all is already hard to stomach. But to then hear that he might not even command a first-round pick, that feels like a slap in the face to everything Watt has meant to this franchise. He's not just a producer, he's a symbol. He's the bridge between the Steel Curtain legacy and the modern NFL. He's the jersey fans buy for their kids. He's the guy they trust in the biggest moments. The fan base sees this as more than just a salary cap issue. To them, this is about loyalty, respect, and maintaining the identity that's defined Pittsburgh football for decades. And if the front office does move Watt, the backlash will be intense, especially if the return is underwhelming. Many fans are already questioning whether General Manager Omar Khan is over-prioritizing financial flexibility at the expense of team culture. Others are worried this could trigger a ripple effect where other veterans start to question their own future with the team. From a locker room standpoint, the whispers around Watt's trade value aren't being unnoticed. Sources have indicated that several veteran leaders are privately frustrated that this conversation is even happening. Watt is widely respected for his work ethic, toughness, and accountability. He's the kind of player that sets the tone in meetings and practices, and his absence would create a leadership vacuum that few on the roster are equipped to fill. Then there's the impact on the field. If the Steelers were to move Watt, they would instantly lose their most consistent source of pass rush pressure. Alex Highsmith is a solid player, but he has always benefited from playing opposite Watt. Replacing that level of disruption isn't as simple as drafting a replacement or rotating in younger players. The ripple effect would be immediate. Fewer forced errors by opposing quarterbacks, more time for receivers to get open, and more strain on the secondary. In summary, while there are valid business reasons why Watt's trade value might be lower than expected, the emotional and practical consequences of moving him far outweigh the theoretical cap savings or draft picks. The Steelers need to consider the full picture, not just what the analytics say, but what losing Watt would mean for their culture, chemistry, and identity. In Chapter 3, we'll break down what the Steelers should actually do next, and whether holding on to Watt, even at a high cost, is the smartest play they can make in this Super Bowl window.
At this point, it should be clear. Trading TJ Watt is not just a bad idea, it would be a strategic and cultural failure. And doing it for anything less than a first-round pick? That would send a message that this organization has lost sight of what truly matters. From this channel's perspective, the Steelers are standing at a crossroads. On one path, they chase short-term financial flexibility and future draft capital. On the other, they stay loyal to the core players who have built this team's identity. Players like Watt, who define the franchise not just through stats, but through the values they represent. If Pittsburgh is serious about making a Super Bowl run in the Rodgers window, the second option is the only choice that makes sense. The conversation around Watt's trade value should not be leading the front office towards shopping him. It should be sparking urgency to extend him. Because once you accept that the return in a trade would be underwhelming, there's really no argument left. Moving Watt wouldn't improve your draft position enough to matter, and it would unquestionably weaken your defense. More importantly, it would fracture the bond this team has with its fan base and locker room. That's not worth any second-round pick. Let's not forget, Watt is still producing at a Pro Bowl level. He's not on the decline. He's not a liability. He is a foundational player on a team that just added Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, and Jonnu Smith. If you're building a veteran-heavy roster designed to win now, there is no justification for letting your best defensive player walk out the door. And yet, somehow, this has become a real conversation because of cap hits, analytics, and injury projections. That's the danger of letting spreadsheet football override real football instincts. Sometimes, the smartest move isn't the one that looks good on paper. It's the one that keeps your team unified, your defense dangerous, and your identity intact. The front office has options. They can restructure Watt's deal. They can extend him with backloaded guarantees. They can get creative, and they should. Because if they choose the easier route, the short-term cost-saving trade, they'll not only damage the 2025 roster, they'll signal to every other veteran in that locker room that no one is safe. That kind of instability can derail a season before it starts. Fans need to make their voices heard. This is the time to speak up, to let ownership and the front office know what TJ Watt means to this team and this city. Because while coaches and GMs come and go, players like Watt are rare. They don't just make plays, they build legacies. From a fan's perspective, this is about more than one player. It's about the kind of team you want the Steelers to be. Are they a team that rewards effort, toughness, and loyalty? Or are they just another franchise chasing marginal savings and draft projections? There's still time for the Steelers to make the right decision, but they need to act fast. Lock Watt in. Send the message that leadership, performance, and identity still matter. Do not sell low on the most important defender of this era. And to Steelers Nation, stay loud, stay proud. Because moments like this define who we are as a franchise, and no matter what happens, we'll be here, calling it out with honesty and passion. Now is not the time to move on from TJ Watt. Now is the time to stand with him.